Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to the test.
I'm thinking about renaming this series. My thoughts are that this series should not be confined to just the Fuso. I think that the series would be more informative if I made this restricted by tier. For example, this series would be the Tier 6 Battleship Armor series, or something along those lines. That being said, I plan to provide analysis on the New Mexico, and I also plan to do analysis on the Warspite if that comes on sale again. Okay, so here's a look at the New Mexico, and I have the armor highlighted here. Let's take a deeper look into the armor and see what it actually means. As you all can see here, the New Mexico has two major sets of armor on the outside. The first being the upper belt, and the second being the lower belt, or if you want to call it the outer casemate. The upper belt is extremely thick. It's 343 millimeters thick at 6 degrees, so that's approximately 346 millimeters of effective armor. However you want to refer to the next piece of armor, the outer casemate or the lower belt, it comes in at 203 millimeters of thickness at a negative 14 degree angle. That's about 209 millimeters of effective armor. The next piece of armor to look at is the inner casemate. Now this is 51 millimeters at a 48 degree slope, which comes out to be 76 millimeters of effective armor. The armor referred to as the Citadel Armor is a flat 76 millimeters of thickness. So there's two ways to look at this. Your shell is either going to go through the upper belt armor, or it's going to go through the lower belt armor, or the outer casemate. If the shell goes through the upper belt, it's going to have to go through a total of 498 millimeters of armor. However, if the shell goes through the outer casemate or the lower belt, it's only going to have to go through a total of 361 millimeters of armor. One thing to also keep in mind is that the shells that are going through the outer casemate or the lower belt are going to have to go through a little bit of water in order to get there. So that's going to eat up a little bit of the shell's penetration power. So for these examples, I'm going to have a New Mexico shooting at other New Mexicos with the sea hull. I'm going to be shooting at the waterline and below the waterline, at the boiler room areas and at the ammunition room areas, to see what the New Mexico's shells can do against the New Mexico's armor. Now for these tests, I'm at a range of about 1.5 kilometers to 3 kilometers. So this is not a test of plunging fire, this is just a direct line drive shot when you're point blank on another battleship. So while you're watching this, if you see a 10,500 hit, that is a Citadel hit. If you see something hit for 3465, what that is there was a penetration into the ship, the shell exploded, but it did not hit any of the vital parts of the ship. And then if you see something that's 1050, that's a shell that hit such weak armor, it just shot clear through the ship and did negligible damage. So I don't know if you guys are picking up on this, but when I was aiming at the upper belt, a lot of my rounds were bouncing, 0 damage. When I started aiming at that lower belt and going more for the shots that go through the water and hit the lower belt, I was getting citadels.
Penetration. Bullseye.
Belt armor starts right here and it goes up along the side of the ship, and that is going to be tough to shoot through. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to shoot through that belt armor at the waterline or a little bit below and see if I can get through, and if I can't, I'm going to try to squeeze in some shots just outside of that belt armor and see if I can still hit the ammunition room. I'm going to kind of summarize what I did here to keep you all from having to watch me shoot the same part of a ship over and over and over again. During all of these trials, I was only able to Citadel the front turret of that New Mexico while it was angled once. Now, what I believe happened on that one Citadel is the shell barely missed that front belt armor on the New Mex, and it still was able to eke into the side of that Citadel room. I think that's the only chance that you have to Citadel in New Mexico when it's angled like that, is just to get one of those super lucky shots where it hits the ammunition room, but it totally avoids that front belt that's so thick. So why is it so tough to get through that upper belt armor when the ship is angled? Well, when the ship is flat, that upper belt armor is about 346 millimeters of effective armor. But when the ship is angled, that armor turns into approximately 510 to 520 millimeters of effective armor. At that severe of an angle, there is no way the New Mexico boiler room can be citadeled, and there is a very small chance that the ammunition room underneath the turret can be citadeled. So what does this all mean? Well, I think that if you can put up with the New Mexico's slow speed, once the New Mexico gets into combat, and there's a good New Mexico captain angling, the New Mexico will be very tough to deal with. Whereas a Fuso is a little bit more beginner friendly. It can take more of a beating even when you're showing less of an angle and giving more of a broadside than the New Mexico. Plus, I kind of like the Fuso's speed a little bit better. Sometimes it feels like I'm chasing the combat when I'm in a New Mexico. Now, what these videos don't have, and what is very important for battleships as well, is what can they do against plunging fire. Now, that's something that I want to get out in future videos. Those videos are a little bit more difficult to generate and to show exactly where the shell hit and try to get reliable hits, especially with this accuracy that they have in the game for the battleships. In the meantime, I think I'm going to start a new series for the Tier 7 battleships. Let me know in the comments which tier you all would like to see the most, and that's probably what I'll go for. Right now I'm leaning for Tier 7, but I'm willing to change if you guys want a different tier. When it goes back on sale, I also want to buy a Warspite and do some videos on that ship. I usually play this game with Steel Reserve, Drinking 247, and Bad Sparky. Now, Steel Reserve has his own Twitch channel. You can follow it on the Steelcast 27, and he has his own YouTube channel as well at the Steelcast 27. If you like this video, please click the like button, and if you want to get updates as new videos are posted, please feel free to subscribe.
Thanks for watching the test.